So, The Last of Us was always going to be one of those rare video games that screamed, "Make me into a show," and it actually be a good idea for once. And while the characters are the meat of the show, man, The Last of Us zombies are fantastic. For nearly a decade, we had nothing but rage zombies, where the plot would just go, I don't know, rabies, I guess? So, echolocating fungus zombies was a breath of spore-filled air, for me at least. If you don't know me, I'm Abby Sparza, and I've been doing digital art for over 10 years now, and all the resources featured today can be found over on Envato Elements. Get unlimited downloads of photos and fonts, all with a super simple commercial licensing, plus a no lock-in contract means you can cancel at any time. Go ahead and subscribe now with the link down in the description. So my soon-to-be clicker is already prepped. I just removed the skylights and added some general darkness and contrast. We always want to use either adjustment layers or smart filters, so if we need to come back to make any small changes, we can, so you'll see me use those throughout this tutorial. But I really want to jump right into the best part, the fungus face. We'll be using this kind of tree fungus. It does an excellent job of really replicating the Last of Us zombies look. Now when placing our fungus, we want to look for interesting shapes. So here I liked how this area fit around her eye and folded onto her forehead. Now we can always move this around later, but we definitely need some color correcting first. So let's bring the saturation down to around -70. I'll be using smart objects like I said, but feel free to use clipped adjustment layers instead if you don't like using smart objects. Next, let's darken the mushroom and remove some of its contrast using a curves adjustment, replicating something like you see here. Now with this mushroom matching her skin tone a bit better, we can add a new layer mask, so merge a layer mask if you need to, and further refine the shape. We're going to use a hard round brush to remove any bigger chunks or sections of this mushroom, and a softer brush to slowly blend some of the inner edges onto the skin. Now, you don't have to use a brush. If you prefer, let's say, the pen tool or any of the selection tools, then go for those. We just want to carve away some of the mushroom so it flows better with her face. Also, feel free to add little rips and tears into the sides of the mushroom, which gives it much more character. And we're actually going to repeat that step at least 2 more times, further building up her face. I'll be using the same mushroom, duplicating it, deleting its layer mask, and then adding a new fresh one so I can mask it into a new unique shape. When using the same stock element, we want to make sure we flip, resize, and mask it in a way that doesn't make it look overly repetitive to its other copies. We don't want it to be noticeable that it is a copy. Just try to take your time when masking out the new shapes. And if you can find different versions of the same mushroom, or mix and match different mushrooms, that will also work even better than trying to copy-paste the same mushroom. But I think this is looking perfectly fine for now. We're going to duplicate our mushroom one last time, deleting any layer mask it might have, and bringing it below the previous mushroom layers. And then we're going to go ahead and set that layer to overlay, and place the mushroom over the face of the zombie. And this is going to bring in those same colors and a little bit of texture that that mushroom has onto the face, helping with blending. And we could stop here, but the Last of Us zombies have these really distinct mouths, I feel. So we're going to borrow the mouth and teeth from this zombie and paste it over our zombie's mouth, making it slightly bigger than the existing mouth. Next, we're going to use the warp transform to warp the mouth and kind of fit it to the face a little bit better. Really don't be shy about warping and wrapping and pulling the mouth into a more zombie-like grin here. We have a lot of room for stylistic choices. In fact, for my zombie specifically, I want her mouth to start and go into the folds of the fungus, so I'm making sure it really wraps and pulls into the creases on the right side of her face. And then we can finish off the mouth just by blending away the edges with a layer mask and a soft round brush. Luckily, there's not too much exact extraction we need to do because of all the mushroomy textures. And we can help that skin tone match a bit better by creating and clipping a color lookup adjustment layer. And then we're going to set it to tension green. Set that layer to multiply, and bring down the opacity to around 65%. And this will just make the mouth darker and a bit more green tone. It doesn't match it perfectly yet, but again, once we add in all our color grades, it will blend together very nicely. Again, if you use smart objects, you can actually come back and adjust this later because warp transform is saved on smart objects. And a quick shadow, just to blend the mouth into the folds of the mushroom right here, just on a normal layer placed above the mouth, and we'll use a very dark red color. And this is just a quick shadow that'll look much better once we add our color grade. And now we have a base zombie to add all kinds of details to. More than anything though, I think she's lacking color. So here is my go-to trick for adding color and detail to any character or image really. First, let's create a new layer placed above all the current layers, and let's set that to multiply. Now we'll take a grungy or any textured brush and paint browns and reds all over the zombie shirt. Now, multiply will make any color you paint on it look darker. So if you want a darker red, try and choose maybe a more vibrant medium red instead. But of course, you can use all different kinds of tones and test different colors out. This is looking nice and dirty. So now let's double click the layer to open the Layer Styles panel, and we're going to go down to Blend If. We're going to use these underlying layer toggles to blend the dirt and blood away from the lighter values of the image, in this case, the shirt. So we're taking the white toggles here, holding Alt to split the toggles, and then pulling them to the left. The more we pull to the left, the more that dirt will blend away from the lighter values on the shirt. And the further the toggles are from one another, the smoother the blend will appear. Her shirt is pretty light, so we're bringing them over quite a bit, but really just play with the toggles until you like how it looks. I feel like Blend If is a very visual tool. Don't get hung up on the exact locations or any numbers you see. And we're going to use this same exact method on a new layer to create blood coming from her mouth onto the chin and shirt. The only thing we'll be changing is our Blend If setting. So feel free to try and replicate mine, like I said, but it's really best to play with the toggles until you land on something you like. Also, you can always come back and change up these toggles. They are non-destructive. This is looking good, but blood and dirt isn't the only thing this works with. We can use the same exact method once again to add colors to the zombie itself. So the Last of Us zombies have varying shades of blue, yellow, and almost a pale green to their skin tone. So using the same techniques we just learned, we can paint those same colors onto our zombie's face, a fungus and all, any place where there would be skin or skin-like texture. You'll also want to play with the opacity of this layer. You'll likely want to bring it down to maybe 75%, maybe even lower. And of course, you'll want to play with those Blend If settings. And we can always come back to this layer a little later, even after we've added our shadows and color grade, since that'll affect these colors pretty heavily. So I do think this is looking fine for now. Let's finish off our details by adding just a little bit of slime, spit, and goop, kind of a bit of wetness. You can find brushes that replicate things like drool. Think brush packs that cater to making monsters, animals, werewolves, or dragons. Things like that. But you can also paint your own by making just very thin lines of an off blue color on a regular, normal layer. The trick is just to make it very, very thin and make some areas missing. Like the slime has stretched so thin that it broke, or the light isn't hitting it. Now this is easier with a tablet, which I am using, but if you only use a mouse, you can use the eraser brush to taper out your lines, or drag them out using the smudge tool. You just don't want solid lines. And really, you can skip this step entirely. Some of the Last of Us zombies are slimy and some aren't. I'm just partial to a bit of wetness to my images. Let's move on from color and details and talk about eyes real quick. The Last of Us zombies have typical glossy, milky zombie eyes, which I have a super fast trick for. We just need a new layer set to screen, then a semi-soft round brush at around 70% hardness, and next a pale yellow color, or whatever color you want the eye to be. And finally, we want to set our brush size to the size of our subject's iris. And we're going to place a single dot of that pale yellow color right over the iris. Now let's bring that opacity of the layer down to 30% or so. And finally, let's take a soft eraser brush and blend away the top portion of the eye just to bring back some depth to the eye. Depending on how much of the new eye color you blend away and the layer's opacity, you can actually get a few different effects here, ranging from dead eyes, like I'm kind of going for, to more glowing and bright eyes. So it really comes down to personal preferences. And things are looking good, but the lighting is definitely super flat, so let's create a curves layer and bring up those highlights. And then we're going to invert its layer mask using Control-I, and this will turn the layer mask black. Because then we can use this layer mask and a soft round brush to mask in some light on the subject's face and upper body, just to brighten things up a bit. And once we are happy with that lighting, we can add some shadows, also using a curves layer. And this time we're going to lower the highlights and actually bring up some of the shadows. We want her to have a lot of contrast and detail, but be surrounded by a more foggy or dusty-like darkness. And once we have these curves dialed in, this is looking pretty good, we can mask it away from her face and her body. And I'm just using a soft round brush. You don't have to be overly accurate here. This is basically a fancier vignetting effect. And I think we're going to finish up with just a quick color grade using adjustment layers. I'm going to paste mine in really quick and click through them. You can get the exact settings in the written version linked down below, where you just have a few color lookup layers. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and brighten up her face just a little bit using a new layer, set to soft light. And let's add a bit of pale blue color over her face to create almost a flashlight effect. Definitely bring the opacity of that down. There are literally millions of different types of fungus, all of them waiting for their time to shine and take out humanity. So feel free to play with different designs and colors. There's tons of room for that. At least a small part of the success of The Last of Us, both the game and the show, for me at least, is just how varied and creative the zombies are and can be. But while you're thinking up your zombie ideas, in the meantime, check out some of the other awesome videos that Envato Tuts Plus has to offer. If you liked this video, consider giving us a like and even subscribing if you still need to. And remember to click the little bell icon to be notified of all new videos, including tips, tricks, and of course tutorials. And now I'm going to go binge watch The Last of Us and replay both games. Happy designing, see you next time.